No matter your disposition, during your time in the verse you'll find yourself with boots on the ground and bullets flying your way, or perhaps you're the one firing the bullets at that poor sod who just wants to sell his cargo. You need protection, or protecting from, but what's the best weapon for the job?
Quantum trap initiated.
First off, let me go over some caveats. All the charts you're about to see use normalized data. That is to say that every number has been converted to be between 0 and 100. If you see a chart marker that shows DPS as 50, that doesn't mean that the weapon does 50 DPS, just that it's in the middle of all DPS values. This is to avoid having 10 different scales on a single chart. It's just messy and it's hard to read. If you do want the raw values, they can be found in the Google Sheet, which is linked in the video description. The normalized values are against every weapon, except for range values, which exclude snipers. I also substituted the range values for energy weapons to the charts, as they're so drastically high compared to ballistics that the numbers ended up not really being representative. I chose to do it this way as opposed to normalizing within a weapon type to avoid any misconceptions like pistols being stupidly OP. Although as a side note, the salvo genuinely is. I omitted the grenade launcher, railgun and missile launcher as they're special cases, and they're kinda hard to compare to other weapons. All the data comes from the game files, with some numbers calculated from said data. Whilst I did sanity test as many weapons as I could, there are a lot of weapons, and I don't have the time to find and test them all. As such, there are going to be some quirks that might have snuck by me. I am human after all, even if the name suggests otherwise. I'll pin a comment with any such instances. Whilst everything I say is based on facts alone, they are still my opinions. You might disagree, and that's cool. I'll encourage all discussion, it's why I do these things, so don't hold back in the comments. Okay, maybe just a little bit, just don't be a dick. That covered, I'll quickly explain what each of the categories on the charts mean. Loaded mass is how much the weapon weighs with a magazine attached, and yes, it does impact you, namely your running speed and therefore stamina. Mag capacity and damage per mag are self-explanatory. Effective range is the distance in which a weapon does its maximum damage. Beyond this, they suffer a drop-off in damage up to their combat range. Damage at CR is how low the damage drops. As an aside, energy weapons don't actually have a drop-off currently. That's why their range is stupidly high. Handling is an odd one. There is no one handling value, but rather multiple values that together affect a weapon's handling characteristics. I created a formula to convert these values into a single number to suggest how a weapon handles under constant fire. Now it isn't perfect, but with every weapon I tested, it's pretty representative. All of that covered off, onto what you want, the details of the weapons. Everyone starts the game with an arc light, and this is actually a fantastic starting weapon. It has by far the best range of all sidearms, decent alpha, highest potential DPS, good handling characteristics, and a relatively large magazine. Great choice in every situation. The salvo frag pistol offers the highest alpha, as well as the option to charge each shot for even more damage if necessary, with said charge shot actually making it the single hardest hitting FPS weapon in the game. It also has phenomenal range, it outpaces most rifles. Fantastic for stealth missions where you need quick kills. It is rare to find, however. The Coda is practically identical to the salvo in its uncharged form, but it does fall behind due to lacking said charged form, and by having a slightly smaller magazine. It is, however, a lot easier to find. As a note on these two, whilst their colossal kickback might give the impression that they handle poorly, their low fire rate actually negates this. It makes them some of the best handling weapons in the game. The S38 and the LH86 fall behind the Arclight in every category, so avoid them unless you're out of options. The Ubrev gets a special mention here. Its damage potential is roughly on par with the S38 and LH86 that I told you to avoid, but it can hit multiple targets at once, and it can stun them. In hectic close quarters combat, it might actually be a good choice. The C54 has the highest DPS of all SMGs, but this is only thanks to its class-leading fire rate, as it actually has the lowest alpha damage. It's also the worst handling of all SMGs, although if you fire it in controlled bursts, it's manageable. Fantastic in close engagements, like the 890 jump mission, if your focus is dropping the target as quick as possible. The Custodian just ekes out the highest alpha of the SMGs at the cost of fire rate. It also has the most damage potential per magazine and, thanks to its energy munitions, suffers no drop-off, allowing it to remain effective out to its full range of 1200 meters, whereas the C54 and P8 are only good within 69. Nice. Handling is middle of the pack. It's an excellent all-rounder, and should be your go-to SMG in open engagements like Jumptown. The P8SC is the best handling of the SMGs, with similar firing characteristics to the Custodian. Alas, it falls just short in terms of damage output. It is, however, the most common SMG, favoured by many NPCs, so running out of ammo in the field is of little concern. Take this for your drawn-out PvE scenarios. The Lumen 5 isn't in a great spot. It's burst fire only, and it falls short of both the P8SC and the Custodian's burst fire mode, so don't take it in any scenario. The Devastator leads the pack in terms of pure damage thanks to its high alpha, but does so at the cost of having the lowest effective range of any weapon in the game. To the point that I'm pretty sure the knife has a longer range actually. It does handle quite well though. It's great for when you want to be close enough to see the fear in their eyes when you pull the trigger. I should make a note here, by the way, the Devastator does have a charged shot, however it costs 3 ammo and appears to do less damage than the uncharged shot. Even in testing, I saw no evidence of it firing off 3 shots, which is what I thought it should do, so for now I'd suggest just don't use it. If it is supposed to fire 3 shots, then it is technically the highest single shot of all shotguns. The Ravager 212 sits middle of the pack in terms of range and has the largest magazine of all shotguns. In auto-fire mode, it has solid DPS with a decent fire rate. Its burst mode is unique in that it fires 2 rounds simultaneously. With this, the Ravager has class-leading alpha damage. This flexibility, combined with its excellent handling, make the Ravager a great option for all scenarios. The R97 also offers 2 modes. In its automatic mode, it has a wider spread, a harsher kickback, but is the highest DPS of all shotguns. Its single-fire mode packs a smaller punch, but due to launching slugs rather than shots, has a much longer effective range. Technically, this mode has higher DPS, but that assumes that you can click the mouse faster than 200 beats per minute. It suffers in handling and magazine capacity, but overall it's a solid choice where you need flexibility and engagement distance. The BR2 has better DPS than the Ravager's auto mode, but technically lacks behind the burst mode. It also falls short of the R97, but it makes up for this with a much larger magazine and smoother handling. Situations where saturation is better than raw punch, the BR2 is an okay choice. The S71 is unique amongst the rifles in being the only one locked to a single fire mode, making it more of a marksman's rifle, and this shows with its excellent range and high alpha damage. However, as with all ballistic rifles, it suffers with drop-off, causing it to fall behind beyond 50 meters. Only good for short distance engagements where accuracy is key. The P4AR is in a really poor position. Whilst its alpha damage is slightly ahead of the Gallant, it falls behind the Kana and the S71. DPS-wise, it also falls behind the competition in every fire mode. Handling is middle of the pack. Its only real saving grace is that it's extremely common with NPCs, so is a useful choice for drawn-out PvE encounters, if not the best. The Kana is unique amongst the rifles, replacing the single fire mode with a charged fire mode, in which the Kana has the single highest alpha strike of all rifles. In burst fire, it's also the highest DPS, though it falls behind the Gallant in full auto. However, it's also more than twice the weight of all other rifles, something to keep in mind. It's a good choice for medium range engagement if you like burst fire, and can handle the added mass slowing you down. The Gallant has the lowest alpha damage of the rifles, albeit still a fairly respectable number. With excellent DPS, as well as class-leading handling, magazine capacity, and the only energy rifle, meaning an unmatched 2400 meter range, the Gallant is the best all-rounder. Solid choice for any situation. If you can find one. Not a lot of places sell them. The F-55 follows the typical Gemini mantra. Lowest in class, alpha and handling, best in class, fire rate and DPS. Effective range is somewhat short however, and beyond 150 meters, the Demeco wins out in terms of DPS. Within that range however, thanks to the largest magazine of the LMGs, sporting the most amount of damage in a magazine of the LMGs, this is the best choice for situations where saturation of a large target is key. The FS9 sacrifices fire rate and magazine size for no tangible benefit. It is the lightest of the LMGs, but I can't think of a situation where the FS9 is the correct choice. The Demeco is the only energy munitions based LMG, and thus the only one with an effective range equivalent to its maximum, which is 2400 meters. It sports the highest alpha damage, but the lowest fire rate, and DPS as a consequence. Despite having the smallest magazine, it actually takes the longest to drain, which makes this an excellent area denial weapon. Used when stopping an enemy advance is more important than just killing them. The AO3 is an odd weapon, being a hybrid of a marksman rifle and a sniper. With the lowest alpha of any sniper, tied for the lowest range, and with average handling, there aren't really any situations where this is a good choice. The P6LR is the 50 cal of SC, and consequently, it hits like a freight train, with the highest alpha damage of all snipers from a single round. As a ballistic weapon, it does suffer with drop-off however, and beyond 700 meters is beaten out by the arrowhead, though it maintains a respectable damage value up to its maximum range of 1800. It's the best choice for steady sniping within 700 meters. The arrowhead is the only sniper with a charged mode, in which it technically has higher alpha damage, albeit at the cost of 3 rounds. This drastically slows your fire rate however, which makes follow-up shots a lot less effective because they're harder to hit. As it's the only energy-based sniper, it does have the highest range, which is 3200 meters, and with no damage drop-off. Easily the best choice for steady sniping past 700 meters, or where you need to do the most amount of damage in a single shot. The Scalpel is also unique in that it has a burst fire mode, in which it fires 2 rounds in quick succession. Technically, this gives it the highest alpha damage from a single trigger pull, although it is firing 2 rounds, as well as the highest DPS potential of any sniper rifle, but it suffers greatly in terms of handling as a consequence. It also has very poor range, tied with the AO3. In close range encounters, the Scalpel in burst mode may technically be the best option, but beyond its effective range of 150 meters, I'd suggest either the P6 or the Arrowhead. Finally, we have the Atzcav. Great handling, excellent range, solid alpha damage, and it has the ability to stun surrounding targets. The Atzcav is a great choice for any situation where your targets are grouped up. And that just about covers everything. Leave any thoughts down below, as well as any suggestions of other stuff I could dig into. Whilst there, do think to sub and like and whatever, because this took me like an entire week's worth of evenings, including an all-nighter to pull together, so it would be really appreciated. And with that, I thank you for watching. I'll catch y'all next time.